What do you think of this jumper? Is it collar up or collar down situation? What are your thoughts?
Should you wear the collar up like Eric Cantona?
Yeah. Do you want to see it?
Show me.
This is how I came in first of all, like this, with it down a little bit. And then I looked in the mirror when I had a wee just, I thought, I feel like it should be down potentially, like a big open.
I quite like the up. I think it's like a strutty big confidence, like Elvis has arrived.
I'm going to do that then for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, thanks, mate.
What do you think about the way I'm wearing my hair today?
Stay tuned next week for hair tips from Matt Kendrick. Hello and welcome to the Claret Blue podcast. I've probably just included that, so we're going to get straight into it. We're going to stick on the theme of fashion with some shirts on my lap.
I've been to a jumble sale.
I know, yeah. For those listening, I'm going to talk through very quickly our studio set, which is where we are today, and the shirts that we have on the wall. There's a comment on every single episode, and the Villa Social lads came in last week as well and said, those shirts up there, they're not the best, are they? I actually don't mind last season's shirts, which is what is up there for those listening, the home and the away. Now, the home one was sent to us, and it is signed. You can't really see that on camera, though. And the away one's mine. And the only shirts that we can put up in the background there are from our collection. I don't have many shirts that are, like, display-worthy. I've got some of the options here, and I've got some more at home that are even less worthy than the ones I've got here. And you've got a couple as well. Firstly, it doesn't really matter, but we want to try and make the set look a bit different. So you brought this in. Do you want to just talk through that quickly?
Classic. This is
it's a nice shirt, yeah.
Before I put my puppy fat back on a few years ago, pre-COVID, I actually got into this, and I would have had this when I was 16. I got into it for the playoff final against Derby. So that's the dream, mate. So don't hang up here. I need it hung up on my wardrobe or on my fridge to be motivation. Back into it.
Yeah. Again, any shirts that we leave here are ones that I'm comfortable leaving here. Like, you're not going to leave that here for the rest of all time, but it'll be nice to have it up in future episodes, maybe.
Yes, it is. It is very good.
I've got again one for the collection. Is this going to go down well? Grealish 10.
Well, don't start that. Don't open that can of worms again. I'm a big fan of his.
Not a very nice shirt, but you probably would display it, name set outwards. But again, I know there'll be comments going, what you got a Grealish shirt for?
Too soon. Give it another 25 years.
I've got this one as well, which I really like, the 32 red black Nike shirt. I am just going to chuck these frivolously, but they are mine. I really like this one. I think this one's underrated. The away shirt. It's the Gerrard era. But it's a nice shirt, I think, the white Claret pinstripe.
I've seen Leon Bailey in that one.
82 on the back, the star. Yeah. I do like that one. It's a nice shirt. I've got the third kit from the same year, which is a bit meh. Another one you bought in, which I have as well, is the FX Pro. You know who I think of when I see this?
Ashley Young.
Yeah, Ashley Young. Nice shirt.
Dylan Petrov. That was the Gerrard year, the Gerrard Houllier year, rather. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, we have them, and we will change them when we can. Leave us alone.
It's better to have that than authentic than like a green screen or anything.
There was nothing there last year, so it's better than nothing. Anyway, we're here to do our Q&A, so let's get straight into it.
I feel like I'm in the changing room now. Yeah, just try these all on.
Do you want to get rid of them?
We're going to hang them back up. Just throw them down there for now, mate.
No,
it's fine. It's fine.
We're going to start with Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup from David, who says, do you think that could take the sting out of them pushing for Europe and make it more open for Villa? Maybe. Who knows? I mean, you do see a little bit of drop-off sometimes with teams that win the Carabao Cup because there's still so much of the season to play, but it can go both ways, can't it? They can use that as motivation for, look how good we are, let's just go and be better. Or there is a bit of a hangover for, okay, well, we've achieved something. They will be in Europe next year, so maybe they can lose their focus a little bit potentially. I'm
a little bit envious because I still do think that's something tangible now. That makes Eddie Howe a legend.
Yeah.
I don't think him getting Newcastle in the Champions League last year makes him a legend. Yeah. Maybe the people in the North East beg to differ with me, but I still do think that getting that something tangible, something that they can't take away from you. You can parade it around the city centre and on open top bus and stuff. Whether it'll impact them, I don't know, but even if it does, I wouldn't take too much from it because there's such a scramble. Yeah. That might impact one team. There's probably another 7 teams who are in with a shout of 4th or 5th. It's so tight up there again. Listen, I think Eddie Howe will have let his players, gone and had a good time. I don't know when they play again. I presume it's perfect, isn't it? Yeah. Christ, that's what a time to win a trophy. It's a weird one, isn't it? We've had this kind of faux rivalry with Newcastle going on for several years. I quite like that. I'm not saying I like the fact that Newcastle have won it, but I like the fact that a couple of clubs, including ourselves, are trying to upset the status quo
I agree
a little
with
bit. So as much as Liverpool would have wanted to win that trophy, or they didn't show it for about 75 minutes, that's just another
trip to Wembley that they do every year kind of thing. Yeah. I agree. I felt a little bit conflicted about it. Not so much before the game, but when it looked like when it went 2-0, I was like, oh, they're going to win it from here, I think. And then you see all the celebrations. You say there about Eddie Howe being a legend, the stuff on social media, their Twitter account tweeting, like, Eddie Howe, Newcastle legend, Isak legend. It's like, well, a player that's been there a couple of years, scored lots of goals, but legend status now because they've done something tangible. I was a little bit conflicted because I like the idea of it not being one of the traditional teams winning. Liverpool have won, I think, the record amount of Carabao Cups or League Cups over the years. It's always a Man United, a City, an Arsenal, whoever. So I like the fact it's someone different. But I wanted that somebody different to be us first before another team that's not won very often. They've not won anything for 70 years, which is a much bigger drought than ours. But of like the challenges, if you like, of a Newcastle, us, a Brighton or somebody like that, I'd like the idea of one of those winning it. But let us win something first. Like Newcastle, you can end your drought next year, but let us do it first, please.
We go and win something better though.
I know,
surely that's the plan.
So.
And I don't like Manchester City winning the league.
Well, no, I don't want Liverpool winning another either.
I don't really want Real Madrid winning the Liga, to be honest. That should be us. Do you know what I mean? But you can't begrudge forever. You're not going to win everything, are you?
And because it's not us, because we're not even in it, in a roundabout way, I've come to terms now with I'm glad it's somebody different. Yeah. It does change things. Kind of as a spin-off, I suppose, it isn't one of the questions, but it reopens a little bit the winning something versus Europe debate. Do you feel any differently about that now you've seen smaller, which is not the right word, but somebody who's not usually winning things, now you've seen them win something, does that make you think, I really do want that?
FA Cup is I don't know, because I don't want to jinx it down, but we've got a chance. We've got a chance. So if it meant that we didn't finish top 5, but we won, let's say we won the FA Cup, then I would definitely take it. But I probably would have taken that before, and I probably have underestimated how much I'd enjoy the Champions League, because it's been brilliant.
Yeah.
And the format of it has been really exciting as well, and you've felt like you've invested in the whole tournament, whoever's been playing with the group stage, with a big chunky group. Well, how is that going to influence us and that kind of thing? So it's been wonderful, and once now we've tasted it, it'd be horrible to not get there again next season. But that FA Cup would soften the blow, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll talk about the FA Cup nearer the time that we get to the Preston game, but I don't want to say my opinions on it have changed, but I've always been of the mindset of like the Champions League qualification, the revenue is undeniable. I don't know how much Newcastle got for winning the Carabao Cup, but it'd be peanuts in comparison to the Champions League. But to me, that's a very like head versus heart debate now, that the head says the money, the revenue, the getting in that established group of elite clubs, the players you can attract. For Villa my argument has always been, if we want to be in a position to get to finals, you've got to build a good squad first, and having the revenue from the Champions League gets you to build that squad to go on and win things regularly. That winning something isn't a flash in the pan like Wigan won the FA Cup or Swansea won the League Cup, and where are they now, that kind of thing, which obviously wouldn't happen to Villa, but my overall point. The heart side of it says win a trophy. You see what Newcastle have done, and you think, I'd love that to be us. I want to see Claret and Blue across Wembley. I want to see a trophy with Claret and Blue ribbons on, like all the, I say the little things, because winning a trophy is massive, all like the little things that come with winning a trophy. I want Villa to taste that as well. So my kind of, with my head on of how to run a football club and make it sustainable, of course the Champions League revenue and the European revenue is undeniable, but from my heart perspective of I am a Villa fan, I want to see a trophy, and if that's this year, then it'd be unreal.
Yeah, but as much as getting the revenue and getting a squad good enough to win the trophy, to win it, you've got to do all that to get you in a position to win a trophy. We kind of have got that.
Well, yeah.
No. And I actually think winning the trophy is the thing that breaks the seal. And you think, well, actually, quite like that. If you think that you're going to get in the Champions League 6 years on the spin to build up this massive pile of cash that will all automatically mean that you'll win every trophy for the following 3 or 4 years. Do you know what I mean? That's like kind of saving money towards your house, thinking you're going to build a conservatory, and then actually, no, I'm going to spend it on a takeaway every week. So it might not happen at it. You know what I mean? So now you've got the opportunity.
Of course,
now the draw's opening up. FA Cup, maybe not so much Champions League. Just go out there and give yourself the best possible chance of doing it.
Okay, let's move on to the fan submitted questions then. This is a really interesting one, something really different from Villa Fan 07. If you had to choose between having a 75% chance at Villa winning every game, but you get delayed for 3 hours after each game, or you have a 50% chance of winning every game, but you get out of the ground with no delay, what would you prefer?
It's an interesting one
for me.
It's a
really creative question. I like that.
Because at the moment, though, I would say at the moment we probably have got a 75% chance of winning every game. At Villa Park.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I don't get delays. So, I don't know, because this sounds like really bad. Like we've got our friends at the kind of Cornwall Lions and stuff like that who would love just the 3 hour.
Yeah,
well, they'd probably get the 3 hour delay as well, and then the 5 hour drive home.
It's that kind of thing of like, how much do I want to like take on board?
Is this
myself?
for my football club or for me? Basically, how selfish am I?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the podcast is like 11 o'clock these days. It won't be till 2 a.m. with this new 3 a.m. delay.
Oh, we ain't doing the podcast, mate, with a 3 hour delay. So let the people decide whether they want the podcast or not.
It is interesting.
But if you know you've got the 3 hour delay coming.
True. Maybe we do the podcast at Villa Park instead.
Yeah, or maybe you go for a drink or something. Or
yeah. I think I would take the 75% chance. I mean, you
want your team to win, don't you? Ultimately,
yeah. Why
if I just want to get away quickly, I don't, and it doesn't matter whether Villa win or lose.
Just don't go.
Yeah, I just go to like Quinton Cinema up the road or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
I want Villa. The reason you're going is to see us win, and if we have a bigger chance of winning, but I have to hang around for a bit, I think you go that, don't you?
I think so. Yeah. But if I'm prepped for it, if it's just, if I'm like a goldfish and I forget at the end of each match and I think I'm going to be home in half an hour or 45 minutes and I've got another 3 hour delay.
Yeah.
It's pressed my buttons a little bit though, because I am.
And there's a 25% chance you've not won as well.
Yeah, oh God.
Aren't there? Imagine a 3 hour delay after that. All right. Yeah, okay. We'll go with the 75% chance. I'd like it to be more close to 100 though for me to really take that one. Right, Zach says, is Ollie not making the England squad good for Villa? I think he needs time to get back in the groove. I was actually, and this is not what the question's asking, I was quite surprised to see Rashford in there, were you?
I think he has done enough. I think sometimes I have to separate my bias from it. How many assists has he got, Dan?
4, I think. He's obviously done well enough. He's in good form, but I didn't think he was going to get the call up, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, who else would... Obviously, Grealish is not in favour at the moment. Who else would come off that left at the moment for England?
Don't know.
So I think he probably is your best man in form. So I'm not surprised. I'm glad from his point of view that I think it would have been a challenge for him leaving United, and all the narrative has been, why would you take a step back?
Yeah, it kind of justifies it.
Leave the mighty Man United, and actually, no, he's left the mighty Man United to go to Villa that are in the Champions League quarter-final, Villa that are in the Premier League, the FA Cup quarter-final, still competing for the top 4 or 5, and he's used it as a springboard to get back into the England squad. So. No, I'm not surprised. I think he deserves it. Okay, fine.
And on Watkins, I think I'm not surprised that he's not in it, and it probably is a good thing for him to stay with Villa. I think he came off, didn't he, in the last game at half time, and has been carrying a bit of a niggle by all accounts, and just not being in that environment, I think is probably it works both ways, doesn't it? You're playing with better players potentially, or a better level, so maybe that ups your game a bit, but I think using these 2 weeks to rest and recuperate and be ready for Villa's running that's more important to me.
I think the main thing is that it's not a snub, and that it's been done mutually, I think, between Villa, England and Watkins himself to give him a rest. So I think if he'd have been snubbed in the first of Tuchel's squads, I think that would have been a little bit of a blow to the ego and a blow to the confidence after kind of stamping his mark on the England squad last summer. See, I don't buy this, that a Villa player getting into the England squad 15 years ago, maybe not 15 years ago, 'cause we were actually quite good then as well, but Villa player getting into the England squad in the past would have been, he gets the chance to work with an elite national team coach and train and play with better players. I don't think he gets that anymore. That's not me saying Aston Villa's squad is better than England's squad, but I think he'll benefit more from. He will have done in the last year and a half from playing with Yuri Tillemans than he will with playing with Jordan Henderson.
Agreed, yeah.
So I don't think it's that. And let's face it, I know we've got an embarrassment of attacking options, but we don't still have that many centre forward options.
Yeah,
we
he's
don't
still the main man, isn't he?
Listen, Rashford can play there and Marlon can play there, but most of the time that burden is going to be on Watkins to play at least 70 minutes of every game, sometimes 3 games in a week. So I think it's a good opportunity, and I've kind of grown up a little bit out of the days where I'm club over country, basically, and if it benefits Aston Villa, which it does because it doesn't affect Watkins' confidence, he does protect his body, then I'm all for it, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Christian asks next, must not have listened to last week's Q&A where Enzo Barrenechea was even in the title. Any views on Enzo and his progress? Will he be integrated into the team next year or sold for PSR? The only reason I include this is because obviously not everybody listens to every episode, but me and John spoke about him last week. But because you're not John, I'll give you the opportunity to speak about Enzo a little bit here.
I wouldn't know as much as John about it, but the bits I've seen. I'll tell you what, actually, as a slight aside, AVFC Stato put a highlights reel of him on last week, and I'd never heard this piece of music before, and it's the first bit of music that I've actually liked that wasn't made in the 1990s. What was it called? Is it Bakar or Bakar?
No idea.
Hell and Back. It's a brilliant tune. So I've got it. It's a bit kind of Lily Allen.
I'm going to search for it while you have a chat.
Really. So fair play to him. He's introduced me to some new music for the first time in 30 years.
You know what I was listening to on the way in, on the train?
Go on.
The Smiths.
Oh yeah, you say that as if I should be surprised. You're not normally.
Just as a shout out to somebody different.
Yeah, just because it's Monday morning, heaven knows you're miserable now.
Yeah. Can I play you the tune? Let's see if this is it. Oh, this isn't new, is it?
No, it's about 6 years old, but for me...
I'm pretty sure this was on like a FIFA soundtrack.
Yeah, I think it must have been. I think that's why they stuck him on the compilation.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Good
I
tune,
didn't know what it was called or who it was by, but I've heard that before.
Yeah, see?
Hopefully that's not got us done for copyright, but...
Getting down with the kids.
Yeah, good find.
It wasn't just the music on there. Some of the stuff, obviously, a little highlights reel probably will accentuate the positives and leave out the occasions if he's given the ball away or falling on his arse or whatever. I think he looks good. He's a regular starter now in the league, albeit at the bottom end. I think where Valencia are battling to stay up.
They've improved, haven't they?
Yeah, but I'd like to see him. I'd like to see bring him back in the squad, have that option on the bench, and then that's up to him to prove that he's of the level. I don't know, Dan. I don't know what you and Dan were saying about it. I watched it, but I've forgotten. But what is the plan for him? Is the plan is it a bit of a financial?
I think it's one of those that it's still in that territory where it could end up going either way. I wouldn't be surprised that because he's obviously increased his value over the last 12 months, that if a bid comes in that Villa go, well, 30 million, that's actually about what we wanted anyway. Yeah. If that bid comes in, you're in a position where you're not losing anything from your squad because he's not featured for Villa. So you do the deal, you use that money to improve the squad. Maybe that money signs Rashford and he does improve the squad because he's already done it, something like that. But I want to see him as well. I want to see him play. Like, he looks a tidy player. We said in that episode that our midfield options are, if everyone's fit, are stacked. Tielemans and Kamara are probably your first two, but we spent 50 million on Onana, and you're not going to throw him out just at the moment. Barkley's had his injury problems, and he's obviously the oldest of the group, I think. So maybe he's one that you would look to replace. McGinn can play centrally as well. I'm sure I'm even potentially missing one. So there's plenty of options there. But he looks a tidy player and he looks an asset, and yes, he might be worth 30 million, as to quote my figure just this summer. But if he plays for Villa next year, maybe he's worth 60 the year after. He's still got talent and potential. So if we sold him in the summer, I wouldn't be surprised. If we kept him and he featured and we let him go the year after or the year after that, then that wouldn't surprise me either. So it looks a good bit of business, and it makes that Douglas Luiz deal look a little bit more palatable. Yeah,
and I suppose it's if the 30 million is needed to balance the books this
to
summer,
avoid fines,
you're probably going to you're not going to say we're going to take a 20 million hit on Onana and move him on. You
Yeah.
probably are going to move. It's an interesting one, but from the bits that I've seen, and I'm not a connoisseur of Spanish football, from the bits that I've seen, I'd be interested to see what he could do in a Villa shirt.
Yeah, okay. Gareth says, is it reasonable to assume that over a full season, having Asensio and Rashford in the Villa team would probably deliver an extra 12 plus points? If buying them would see us breaking FFP or PSR rules, at what point does taking, for example, an 8-point penalty become a valid business decision? Oh, I've definitely spoken about this before. I don't think you ever intentionally break the rules.
I think Villa will be clever enough just to stay the right side.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Are you whispering because we might get caught?
Yeah, well, you never know, do you? Never know who's watching.
Chris X listening, but
I've
anyone
never
else.
been much of a rule breaker. I might have kicked a bollard over when I was drunk, but the good thing about that is they invented those bounce back bollards, didn't they? So I think I'm
He gave you one back.
That's it, yeah. Just smack me back again, yeah.
You just don't see it at this level. Obviously, Forest broke the rules, didn't they? And they're kind of benefited, would be the argument. There's a lot of kind of talk about Forest almost being like this fairy tale story to almost be get promoted, almost be relegated, and now they are going to finish in the Champions League, in my opinion. What a story that is, and it is, but it's not without spending a fortune as well, by the way, and broken the rules by overspending. So this isn't, plucky Nottingham Forest. Ryan Yates is playing every minute as a local lad. I spent a lot of money to get there. Obviously, it doesn't take away the achievement of finishing potentially in the Champions League because you need to spend money to do it. But they broke the rules, not intentionally, but they've kind of gotten away with it. So I get what Gareth is saying. If others are doing it, why don't we join that club? But I've said before, I've maybe naively got better standards of my club wanting to be above that. I wouldn't want to see Villa intentionally breaking the rules.
No, I think the best thing that Villa can do is
accidentally break them and benefit. That's absolutely fine.
I think the best thing Villa can do is be a kind of vocal voice against it. We've seen Sawiris give a couple of interviews, haven't we, over the past couple of years where he's spoken out about it being a closed shop and how it's difficult for clubs like Villa to break into that territory. So I think it's just that. I think it's just when they are being heard at Premier League meetings, just trying to make sure they get their point across. That sounds a very kind of old man. Well, actually, what we'll do, we'll write a strongly worded letter, and that should tell them exactly what we think. So, but no rule breaking here.
The question here that I don't think we need much discussion because we don't know the answer, but I'm sure we can speculate a little bit. Stoney asks, what is the deal with Rashford's option to buy? Is it the case that if Villa want to execute... That's worded terribly. Execute Marcus Rashford. Is it the case that if Villa want to execute the deal, if we get him for 40 million, or could Man United / Rashford say no? I should have tidied these questions up a little bit because I've made an absolute meal of that one. There's an option to buy which is rumoured to be 40 million. Now that doesn't mean if Villa offer 40 million the deal is done, is my understanding of it. Man United could turn that down because it's an option, and Rashford could say, well, I've enjoyed my time and I've done well getting back into the England squad. Barcelona want me now, so I'm going. So there is still that kind of human element to it, that it's not just a done deal.
The other example then reminded me of you never used to watch old Bullseye, did you?
I know of it though.
So they go the option to gamble for the
like a speedboat, or something.
And then they were like, we've had a great day out, Jim, but we're going to take the money. It's like that Marcus Rashford. I've had a great day out, Jim, but gets in his speedboat and buggers off to Barcelona. I don't know is the answer, but I should imagine, being a student of English, that option rather than obligation means that there's still some wriggle room.
Well, all
three parties need to agree, don't
You've
they?
even seen with the Sancho stuff with Chelsea that was an obligation to buy from Man United, and they're trying to kind of work their way out of that to pay some money to cancel that obligation because they don't want him. So even whatever the phrasing of a deal is, things can change. So maybe at the time Rashford is more than happy to join Villa permanently. There's always talk about agreeing the wage structure before it's done as well. So he's already happy with whatever Villa have offered in January. Maybe that changes if he scores. He's not gonna, but if he scores 20 goals in the remaining 10 games, he could say, well, yeah, I've agreed on 150 grand, but I want 200 now. And maybe that scuppers the deal.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's been loads. I'm sure there'll be something set out in principle, but there'll be loads
Agents can change things.
There'll be loads of kind of break clauses, and there'll be loads of things, well, I came and won you the Champions League, so surely, give me another naught.
Yeah.
So
give him a naught would be good.
It's one of those ones, isn't it, where let's just enjoy enjoy the next couple of months of having him and Asensio, and if it gets us where we need to be, even if we don't keep them, they'll be very fondly remembered, won't they, in our hearts?
Yeah, I'm just giggling because you've reminded me of a stupid reference. Rio Ferdinand talking about, I'm guessing Messi or Ronaldo, the debate. He's like, let's just enjoy them both, man. Enjoy them both.
Was this a salad cream mayonnaise thing or something, was it?
I think it's been used out of context for other things, but I'm pretty sure the original thing was, Messi or Ronaldo, who's better? And he's just like, let's just enjoy them both, man. Can we just enjoy them both?
People try and make comparisons of who's better, etc. Just enjoy them, man. We're lucky
very
to be
different.
in this time.
Leighton says, I'm sure you've both by now seen the leaked drawings for the North Stand. So before we go any further, have you seen this?
Have you?
I've seen an image on Twitter, but I didn't really think anything of it. There's been rumours for a few months now about this. So have you any news coming from the club? No. And what are your thoughts on the new plans?
None.
Next question. I did see something actually of an old drawing, I thought it was, of a plan for the North Stand, but I scrolled past it and thought, that's just Twitter. I want it to be done at some point. I suppose maybe we can widen this out a bit more into the new stadium or renovate Villa Park debate again, but I would much rather see Villa try and do their best to save Villa Park and make it better than build a three-pronged tent as Manchester United are going to do.
It definitely needs reconfiguring, doesn't it? That area around the back of the North Stand and the side of the Trinity and stuff like that. And it's a bit like do you know Indiana Jones, when the kind of walls start closing in? It's like that. I'm finding that with every little tent or marquee or burger stand or fan zone or whatever that Villa put up there, it just thinks, well, actually, this is a little bit ramshackle and thrown together. And I get it, and I understand it. And
so long as I haven't got to slide through the turnstiles underneath and grab my woolly hat as I go through the sliding door.
That's it, yeah. Going to grease myself up just so I can get in. So it definitely needs doing.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? Because you're not going to do that level of work in, especially if Villa are getting to. When's the season? The season's running till end of May, middle of May, and then the season start middle of August.
Yeah.
You're not going to do a project of that scale in 3 months. So you're going to have disruption to the match-going fan and reduce the capacity at a time when Villa are a big business. So it is a real balancing act.
But I did agree with the delay. If the reason was we don't want to reduce capacity for a Champions League campaign, if that's the only reason, and it's not, that doesn't mask other reasons that we don't know about. I got that for this year. I can imagine the Bayern Munich game, it was only 28,000 as opposed to 42. Yeah. Would we have won the game? Who knows? It obviously doesn't work like that. The counter argument to that was, well, we want Villa to always be at that level. So if you don't do it now, if we're in the Champions League the year after, are you going to do it then? So you've got to bite the bullet at some stage. If Villa are only in the Conference League next year, is that the time to do it? Maybe, I don't know. But you've got to rip the plaster off at some point, haven't you, and crack on. So it needs doing, and I would much rather they put the care and the attention into making Villa Park better than move away, like I say. Despite all the transport links and all the other stuff that comes with it, you want Villa Park to stay as is. The
North Stand does bring the tone down a little bit in terms of how the ground looks. So I do think, they've tried, haven't they? They've tried to
kind of
give it a bit of an air washing, didn't they? Yeah, and then they've tried to
put the little claddings up and stuff.
Yeah, but it's.
Would you fill in the corners? Would that be the solution, do you think?
Probably would now. I probably wouldn't have said a few years ago, but I'd rather have a Villa Park that's a little bit. I don't want a perfect bowl.
I would have the whole end, and then I'd have the rest of it joined up.
Yeah,
I'd leave the whole end untouched.
Yeah, as a kind of standalone stand. I don't know because the thing is, there's no obvious solution for it. Really, but I think you're right. It probably needs to happen in the next 2 or 3 years.
Dave says, if we make it into the Champions League this season via the top 5, would that eclipse last year's achievement? I think yes. I think it's been harder this year, so that makes it better. Even if we only sneak in on the final day as opposed to being up there all the way through like we were last year, I think that would be a better achievement because we've had to deal with more this year.
We've already got further in the Champions League this year than we did last year. We're in the quarter-finals, so we didn't have that, although we got to the semi-finals of a European competition. We got to the FA Cup quarter-finals as well. So this season away from our Premier League performance is already better. So if this season's Premier League performance ends up matching last season's, that eclipses it. And it just, as we've seen it, it's not just a cliche. We've seen it that it does take its toll. People say, if you're new to the party, can you manage with the same squad doing Champions League and Premier League? It will take its toll on you. We've seen with some of the results, haven't we, that have followed Champions League games. So if somehow we have a late hurrah and we manage to get there, oh God! I mean, this season it's got still so many possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we deliver on all three of those objectives, but I'll take 2 out of 3 at this time.
I was speaking to somebody a few weeks ago about like the potential upcoming like cycle of teams getting into Europe, and I can't remember who it was, so apologies if they're listening, but it was kind of like you wouldn't be surprised, let's say if Newcastle and Forest get into the Champions League this year, that they struggle in the league next year, but because Villa aren't in it, they do better next year.
Yeah.
And you've got the Liverpool, Arsenal and probably Man City it feels like always going to be up around the top 3 every year, but the following maybe 6 clubs of us, Newcastle, Brighton, potentially Man United and Spurs if they ever sort themselves out, that cluster of teams there, Bournemouth I suppose, Chelsea, only two of those teams can make up the top 5 if it is 5 every year. That there's this kind of cycle of, well, they'll get into it but then they won't the following year, so that's somebody else's opportunity, but then PSR come call and they'll need to sell somebody, so it's someone else's turn. I think it's very difficult for any of us to get in there consistently, so if we were to do it, I think that would kind of emphasise the achievement, because not many clubs do it back to back. But if we didn't, but that makes us better in the league next year because of it, and we can couple that with a Europa League campaign or another stab at the FA Cup, then as long as we're always kind of in that area, I'm relatively happy.
You're right, because there's so many teams who aren't quite equipped for that kind of that multi-challenge, if you like, that there is going to be one goes in, one comes out, etc., which makes it hard to become part of that established elite.
Yeah.
But I'd rather that and Villa be getting a piece of it than four same teams getting it boxed off every year. Yeah. Unless Villa are one of those teams, obviously.
All right, okay, we're going to move on to some quick fire ones now, / silly questions. The silly question section.
That's what I'm here for.
This is what you're here for. There's more in this section than there normally is.
Yeah, just sack off that football preamble next time and let's get cut to the chase.
Daniel asks, if you could only keep one, fish and chips, Sunday roast or full English breakfast?
Sunday roast.
I agree. I think if you this isn't saying like you got to have it all the time, but if that was part of it, where which of those do you probably have the most? I think a Sunday roast is the most like palatable to keep having.
I think you can vary it up.
Yeah,
a little
different
bit more
meats,
as well.
Different vegetables,
different meats. I think my roast potato would eclipse my hash brown on a
fair.
on a breakfast. I mean, I like a carroty carrot. I do.
Carrot.
Like a carrot that just is proper screams carrot at you. Like it could have just been dug up.
They still taste like the ground a little bit.
Yeah. Love a carroty carrot. I quite like parsnips as well. I'm not a big fan of mash on Sunday roast.
Not on a Sunday roast, no.
I'll have mash. I'll have me sausage and mash and me baked beans.
Is this what you wanted? Full English breakfast, nothing for that. Again, I think that's a little bit more rare for me. I wouldn't have that more than maybe once a month.
Yeah, I do.
It's just a lot of effort to put all that together.
Yeah, I wouldn't be cooking it. I like a kind of breakfast bap, or I like a sausage sandwich, or a sausage and egg sandwich.
Just enjoying both.
Man. I like it. I like it all out there in front of me on the one plate. But which bit do I have? Do you know what I mean? And would you have brown or red on a
sauce?
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah.
I'm glad we can still work together after that bombshell. Drink-related one from Ronan. Will you be drinking Guinness to celebrate St Patrick's Day, which is Monday? This might not be coming out Monday. I won't be drinking it specifically to celebrate that, but that is my go-to choice.
I've never been a Guinness man.
I didn't think you were. I've never seen you drinking one.
For me. I would drink Guinness. I don't dislike Guinness, but it just wouldn't be my... if I'm in Dublin,
yeah.
do as the Dubliners and drink Guinness, but I wouldn't choose it.
If we went to the pub after this for a drink, you wouldn't pick a Guinness, would you? I don't think I've ever seen you drink a Guinness.
No, I'd have a kind of IPA
pale ale or something.
Yeah.
All right, that's the last one of the food and drink section. So if you were only here for that, you can go now. A couple of kind of podcasty related ones. I'm going to do them at the same time, just to end. RJ says, are you planning any more ex-player or manager interviews
We're
in
always
the
planning
future?
them. It's the doing them that's the problem.
They're always good content. And Ben says, is getting Dean Smith still possible? Now, this probably ventures into a little bit of off-air planning chat rather than on-air. But like you say, this is something that we are, if you don't see it, we do actually do some work. We are always planning these things and trying to...
We'll definitely be getting some former players.
Yeah, trying to make contacts. And
between now and the
get on the
summer,
phone
or now
and
and the
stuff.
start of next season.
It's not easy to organise. Like, I'm not going to name names. But I've gone after people before, when you speak to agents or like marketing groups or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, they're up for it. They'll come to the Birmingham, give you an hour, whatever. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, let's get it booked in. Oh, by the way, we want £4,000. It's like, oh, you should have really said that at the start, because we've got nowhere near that to pay ex-player for 1 hour. Like, we're not going to make anywhere near that money back as a business thing. We cannot do that. So, it's difficult. We'd love to do more. We've got a good back catalogue of lots of interviews. So if you're new to the podcast, we have done a lot of them, but they're just so hard to organise, aren't they? And actually get them over the line.
Yeah, we'll get some more. I think it's a bit more perseverance from me is needed, to be honest. And we've got this recording space now, which we never really had the benefit of until 6 months ago or whatever, or a few months ago. Dean Smith's one, very much on the list.
I just want to get in before someone else gets in. That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, we've spoken about it. We've spoken about trying to go over there and get him, but I did bump into his agent in Asda the other day, so I have arranged to go and have a coffee with him again. He was dressed in his gym kit, ready to go for a run and ready to get to the gym. I was dressed in my gym kit because I'm a slob. But I've got tracky bottoms and stuff on, but he was got more of a sense of purpose than me. But yeah, we just keep nagging us and get Dan to keep nagging me, and we will get there.
Yeah, we'll get there in the end, I think. And we've got there on the end of this podcast. Thank you for joining us, Matt Kendrick. That is the end of today's Q&A. Obviously, Villa haven't played a game since the Bruges game. We don't play anyone else till Preston, so there's still a gap. But we'll try and do a Q&A next week as well. So, like some of the questions in this one, if you can get a little bit creative with some different things, obviously because there's no matches to talk about, we're happy to do podcasts still. And even though Villa aren't playing, we've got plenty of other things coming up as well. We had the Villa Social go out at the weekend to go and catch up on that. We're doing a couple of other bits and pieces as well before the Preston game. And John will be back off his annual leave next week as well, so he'll be back at some point as well. That's all for this one though, Matt. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching along or listening to this episode of the Club Brugge podcast, and we'll see you in a couple of days.